We are now official. So good evening, Carrie. Good evening, Colleen. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're excited to be here.
Thanks, Chad. Welcome, everyone. We're excited. Like Carrie said, we're excited to be here. So we have a third person. She's unable to be with us tonight, but we didn't want to take her name off because she has been a big part of this. So Desiree is not able to be here tonight, but I'm Colleen Sam. I'm the math and science coordinator for Farmington Public Schools. I'm a former middle school math teacher. And my thing that most people don't know is that I have a Tetris high score champion. I don't know if it's still there, but I had one time at an arcade.
I think Colleen will get sucked into the game Tron if she ever goes to that arcade again. So be safe, Colleen.
Yeah. So I'm Carrie Heaney. I am a secondary math coach and math interventionist at Farmington Public Schools. But prior to that, I had 20 plus years teaching middle school math. And then my fun fact is that, I can name that song in 3 notes. I can pick up on quite a few songs pretty fast. So that's my special skill that I pull out in important moments.
All right, so we have 3 goals for our session tonight, and I'm going to start with just our first one. So we're going to spend some time right now reflecting on how students experience anxiety in math classrooms, because like Chad said, this happens quite often. So we really hope to be able to reflect a little bit on our own experience and then move forward on how we can help to reduce this in the classroom. So if you have some paper in front of you, this is going to be an interactive session. So hopefully you have the ability to either type on a Google Doc or pull up something on your computer, type on it, or in some paper. We're going to spend a little bit of time reflecting right now. So think about a time in your life where you felt supported. What were those supports that were in place? And what was the purpose of those supports? And when were those supports taken away, or when did they stop? So just take a couple minutes right now to think about that time that you were supported in your life. And it can be personal or professional. All right. Now think about a time that you felt supported in math specifically, whether when you were a student or if you're a teacher of math right now. Think about a time that you felt supported. And again, what were those supports that were in place? And what if those supports were taken away from you? How would you feel? So focus, how would you feel if you didn't have those supports when you were learning or teaching math? Okay, and for our last question, think about a time when you felt anxious in math. Again, while you're teaching or you were learning or doing, what would have helped you to reduce the anxiety? Or maybe what did help you? Maybe there was something that helped you to get through that anxiety. So just take a moment to reflect on that. All right, so we're gonna get into breakout rooms of about 4 people in a moment here for about 10 minutes. And there's a few things we're gonna do in that breakout room. The first thing we're gonna do is we have an icebreaker. Carrie's gonna put that in the chat. So it's a fun wheel that you're gonna spin while you're getting the room and just quickly have a chance to introduce yourselves to the people in the room. And then you're going to discuss those feelings you had when you were anxious in math. So think about that last time you just wrote about, discuss those feelings, and then talk about the supports that were in place. Those first 2 questions, what supports were in place when you felt supported, or what helped you get through that anxiety in that last question. So again, we're gonna have about 10 minutes to do the icebreaker and then discuss your feelings of when you were anxious, what kind of feelings did you have? And then what were those supports that were in place? Make sure you have someone in your group ready to share in the chat, or we'll take some people if they want to share aloud, but just make sure that one person from your group is ready to share out when we come back in about 10 minutes.
Okay, so make sure that before we go into the breakouts that you've clicked on that link there, and that will bring up that fun little spinning wheel thing on a new browser. So at least one person in the group should have that. I know some folks are maybe on a mobile device or maybe in their car. And once you get into your breakout room, I will be messaging in these prompts again, so you'll see them again, because there's people like me that actually didn't hear the question the first time. So I will message that in for everybody. And of course, once I open the room, make sure that you accept the room, and we shall whisk you off to the ether in a 3, a 2, a 1.
In hearing it, I'm also seeing it gives us an awareness. So your students know if you struggled, let's say you shared your story, then they know it's okay for them to struggle. Or it also makes us aware. It gives us an opportunity to step back and say, oh yeah, some of my students are probably feeling this too. Another one I'm seeing here is being vulnerable. So modeling for kids that we're being vulnerable about something that was hard for us. And that's always a great model for students. Another thing I'm seeing is these stories allow for a safe environment, because we're putting, and that's part of that being vulnerable, right? We're putting out there how we have felt or how others have felt. And so that you can, again, coming back to the connecting idea. I also heard a piece in there, it makes us as a teacher more human, which is so important. You know, that students see us, that we are human, we make mistakes. It's okay if you make mistakes. We feel anxiety sometimes. It's okay for you to feel anxiety sometimes. This is how we work through it. And then I also saw one in there about policies or decisions that we make. So sometimes the decisions that we make in our classroom are based on our math story. So sharing with kids how this maybe turned out, you may not understand it right now, but how what I experienced helped for these decisions to make you have a more positive experience. Carrie, is there anything else you see in there that I might have missed?
No, I think you really got at all of the great things that people shared here and definitely tied those themes in.
Yes.
All right. So we are about to get to the point where we actually get the opportunity to do some math together. So a couple of things are going to happen. We're going to have some structures in place. So the first one is that when you're going to be put back into some breakout rooms, and when you're in your breakout rooms, we're going to ask you to think about participating in some roles. And these roles are color coded. So, so we have the roles. We have a timekeeper, a secretary, a communicator, and a mayor. And the idea behind these roles is that everybody is able to do these things. So by everybody having something that they can do in a group, everybody is guaranteed an ability to participate. So right away, if somebody's going in and feeling like, oh, I don't like math, it's like, well, nope, but you can pay attention to the time. You can support your group in this way. So this is kind of a guaranteed way to get someone to participate. And so when you go into your groups, if you're wearing green or you're wearing the most green, you're the timekeeper. If you're wearing yellow or the most yellow, you're the mayor. I also know that you're adults and you can probably figure out another way to assign these roles, but it's really nice to give something to kids so that they're not just, choosing anything, and that there's actually a structure for helping them figure these out. Now, when you go into your breakout room, I want you to pay attention to your breakout room number, because you're going to need that as we start solving the math into this problem. So I'm going to give you a lot of information right here before you go into your room. So, and I'll give you a chance to ask some clarifying questions if you need them. So we are going to go into our breakout rooms, and you're going to be given, actually Colleen put it in there already. So there's a link to some Google Slides. So if you go into your breakout room and your breakout room 4, then we want you to go to slide 4. And that's where you're going to get the opportunity to show all of your work and your thinking for today. And then while you are doing that work and you're thinking, you'll notice on that slide that there are some links to some different manipulatives. There's a link to Desmos, which is a virtual graphing tool. There's some color tiles, there's algebra tiles. So there's lots of manipulatives there that you can use to support the work that you're doing and thinking, and then also to help you solve the problem. And then also when you get to those Google Slides, the very last slide in the Google slide deck has the breakout room roles if you need to go back and review them. They're there for you as well. And they're also in the chat for those of you who need them. So here we are with our math problem. So we are at a store, and the store sells these souvenir packages. So they have a couple souvenir package that's 2 baseball hats and 2 baseballs for $46. There's an autograph hunter package where you can get 1 hat and 2 baseballs for $31. And there's the Let's Play Ball package where you actually get a baseball and a baseball bat for $33. Now, as awesome as these packages are, not everybody wants all of these things. So you are able to purchase any of those items individually if that's what you would prefer to do instead. So right now, you're going to work with your groups to figure out based on yeah, let's make the bat a wooden bat. That works for me. So you're going to work with your groups to figure out what the individual prices of those items would be, and you're going to share that information on your slide. Here's the couple of catches. Number one, we want you to do it in more than one way. So if you solve the problem one way, awesome. Think about doing it another way. And then the second thing is that I know there are some people in this room right now who are looking at that going, woohoo, systems of equations. Here's the thing though, we wouldn't be assigning this problem to a group of students in class if everybody knew how to do systems of equations. So I'm going to ask that if that is what you saw right away when you do this, that you make that your second method, that you don't chime in with that one first, but that you actually push yourself to think about how to solve it a different way. So that everybody gets that experience of thinking it through, because we know those systems of equations can sometimes make people's eyes light up a little bit. So, so let's see. So quick recap, the breakout room, pick your roles, and then work together to solve the problem in 2 ways. And you'll be documenting those ways on those Google Slides. You are going to have approximately 20 minutes to do this. And don't be surprised if Colleen or I leave you a message on your Google slide. Like, don't freak out and be like, oh my God, where's this coming from? Just know that it's our way of communicating with you. There's a lot of us, so popping in and out of the rooms won't be as efficient. But if you do need us, I do believe there is an ask for help button in your breakout rooms that you can use as well. And we will find a way to come to support you. So are there any questions before we send you to your breakout rooms? And Colleen put a note in the chat, like thinking about how an elementary student might solve this problem is a really great way to think about it.
Okay, so and again on the roles, just to remind everybody, if you are wearing green, you are a timekeeper. If you happen to be wearing blue, you are the secretary. That's the person who will be typing on the slides. If you are wearing any red, you are the communicator, and you can ask for help if needed. And if you have yellow on, you are the mayor, and that is to make sure that everybody's voice is being heard and you know, everything's working well. So here we go. Hopefully you've already clicked on those slides, so make sure that you've done that. And how many 20 minutes we'll be in the room, and we will send you off right now in 3, 2. Oh, hold on, we got a question. So 2 of you went to college together? He says hello. Oh, I guess you guys went to college together. Hello. Carrie and Colleen, maybe. Not sure. All right. You're going off to the, I guess we'll have to come back to that. Off to the ether you go in 3, 2, 1.
Colleen, did you send that to us because we didn't have anything on our slide, group 2?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure you guys didn't need any support.
I just could not figure out how to write on that thing. So
okay.
We did not write anything down.
No problem. No problem.
At least on there.
Okay.
All right. So I think we are all back. Nice. So hopefully you guys had a chance to think about these math problems in a couple of different ways. We're seeing lots of great stuff on the slides. The nice thing about when you do something virtually and having everybody write on the slides is that people can actually look up and down the slides and see other people's thinking, which is sometimes a nice strategy in an anxiety situation, because people can see what other people are doing and it gives them a kickstart. So sometimes that listening to what another group says, you're not copying their work because you have to make sense of what they're saying. So this is a strategy as well. But we left some notes for a couple of different groups asking if they would be willing to share their thinking, and the groups said yes. So because of where we're at with time, breakout room 7 and breakout room 5, we had asked both of you guys to share some thinking. So I'm going to start with breakout room 7, and I'm actually going to share your slides so that everybody can see it. If you would please turn on your microphone and kind of share your thinking around your first strategy, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, so what I did when I saw this is I noticed the only difference between the first package and the second one was a hat. So I was able to then take the total from the first one, 46, and subtract 31 from it. And that told me then that the hat was going to be $15, because that was the only difference between those two packages. Once I knew what the hat was, then I, again, could use that to solve for what the ball was. So I did 31, I used that second one, and I did 31 minus 15 to give me 16. And so since 2 balls was 16, that meant 1 ball would be $8. And then from there, I could use that total to tell me what the bat was. So I did 33 minus the 8 to get me $25.
All right, thank you. So definitely noticing some relationships between the pieces in there with the baseballs, hats, the baseballs, and the bats, and then using them to figure out the other ones. Thank you very much for sharing. And then group 5, I'm going to hop over to your slide and see if you would somebody from your group please share with us about your strategy, strategy number 1 that you used.
I don't know where everybody is, but I guess I can do that.
Thank you.
All right. So what we did was we looked at, they had 2 hats and 2 balls. So we split the 46 in half. And then we took it from the 31, because I had the hat and the ball. It's kind of the same thing the other one did, just backwards. And then we took the hat that was 23. So then we took the difference between 31 and 23 and got the ball that was 8. And then we could take the 8 away from the 33 and figure out the rest.
Yeah, so that you guys took that step of taking that initial image, the 2 hats and the 2 balls, and taking something that was a little complex because there were 2 of them, and saying, wait, but if I have that, I have 1 hat and 1 ball, and that gave you something to build from and then subtract from there. So that was great. Thank you. And we can look through all of these slides, and there are lots of different ways that people solve this problem and lots of different things that people shared. You can see down here, strategy 2 on slide 5, there's actually the systems of equations stuff. Group 9 actually talked about guess and check, and then they listed some of the things that they guessed and checked about. Right? They're like, oh well, if a hat is $15, then they were going to use that to break it up, and then they did some other work there, and you can kind of see all of their kind of thinking about what they guessed and checked, and they found out that a hat was $15, a baseball bat was a baseball was $8, and a baseball bat was $25. So yeah, really great thinking, you guys. Way to dig into some math at the end of the evening. So I am going to stop sharing these, and we are actually going to jump forward, and I will share our next screen from there. Sorry, guys. Share this one. Ready, go. All right, Colleen, it's all you.
So really the meat and potatoes of this, what can I do in my classroom to help with anxiety? We kind of modeled for you a bunch of different things that you could do to help bring anxiety down in your classroom. So that icebreaker, just giving students an opportunity to talk about something that's not necessarily math. So that's an opportunity to bring some of the anxiety down. It's oh, I don't have to talk about math. Group work, you know, I saw in a lot of the responses that sometimes, or people talked about some of those supports were working with other people. So allowing that time to work with other people before pulling out to the big group and allowing them to process. Math stories you talked about how knowing someone else's math story can help you to understand them better, which can help to bring someone's anxiety down or help you to recognize when someone's maybe in an anxiety situation or one of your students. Manipulatives. Now, we didn't see anybody use the manipulatives here, but for some students, having that ability to have hands-on or to manipulate something concrete so that they can make their thinking visible helps to bring the anxiety down. So putting a manipulative, even in our secondary classrooms, I know in elementary manipulatives are very common, but I've used them with high school students. And it's really helped some of those high school students be like, well, I can do this with these algebra tiles. These numbers and letters are too much, but if I have algebra tiles in front of me, this makes way more sense to me right now. And then eventually we get them to using the written form of it. A low floor, high ceiling task. So that task that we gave you, some of you solved it in a way that a third, fourth, or fifth grader might solve it. Some of you went to the systems equations, which is more of a high school. So it allowed both of those different ways, letting those students that don't necessarily have the same math foundation still try to answer the question. And then giving those that are higher up and need a challenge, we're able to do that when we ask for solving in two different ways. Multiple solutions and pathways. When we can give students problems where there's lots of different ways to get there, then it's not, I'm just looking for that one way, and that helps to bring anxiety down. Teacher questioning, some of the questions that we asked on the slides to different groups can help to bring anxiety down. It can also help them to feel like they're on the right path. Volunteers, so we called for volunteers earlier. So when we were sharing our math anxiety stories, who would like to share? We weren't putting anyone on the spot. But then in the same part for the math task, we were putting some people on the spot, but we let them know ahead of time. We said to group 5, could you share? Would you be willing? We asked permission for them. That gave them that time to process that, yeah, I'm going to have to share to the whole group. And then the last piece we modeled was the group roles. Giving those group roles can really, if I know that I'm the timekeeper, I can at least do my group role. I may not feel very successful right away in doing the math, but I can at least have that time piece. And I'm learning by talking through it with my group members. And they help me get started. All right. And so we're getting to the end here. So I think we've gotten through all 3 goals. We've reflected on student experiences in anxiety math classrooms, how it could impact. And then thank you, Mark. The group roles are really good to help build confidence. So we identified some strategies for you. It's not the end all be all. And there were a lot of strategies on that list, but even just trying a couple in your classroom could help to bring down some of the anxiety of the students in your room. Yeah. I was often the timekeeper marking groups in my math classroom. That's part of my math story. I needed someone else to trigger my thinking. All right, and then we have several resources up here. You may be familiar with some of them. Kids Math Talk is a great podcast. It actually is Desiree, who is our third presenter, but she brings in a lot of great hosts, authors that have some great ideas of how to help your math classroom. Which One Doesn't Belong is a great resource that some of you might use in your classroom to get some math talk going. And then the Catalyzing Change books. I want to highlight these classroom ready rich math tasks. Those are books that have tasks in them, these low floor, high ceiling tasks. Now it's only for K through 5 right now, but it's a great resource to get started with. And those are relatively new books. And then there's some other books on there. I won't go through all of them, but they're all linked. And I will put a link in the chat to this presentation so that you have it. And I think we're wrapping up for the night, Chad. I think we're ready.
Wow. So thank you so much, Colleen, Carrie. And I just want to remind everybody, I will be sending out a link to this presentation in just a little bit. As you know, I have to go out and feed the stove, make sure the kids are fed, and then I come back and then finish this up. So look for that in about 10, 15 minutes. But some of those tips are great, even if you're not a math teacher. And that's what I like about these, that sharing and being prepared to share is very stress inducing. And so, whether it's using roles, whether it's giving that kind of like silent generation, kind of that silent thinking time before you share, there's so many great techniques in there that we can use. And it's great to be reminded of these things, because when we're in the moment, we're looking at the clock, we're trying to make time, we're trying to move through curriculum. And it's always great to be reminded of some of these little opportunities to create space for our students to think and other ways for them to share, so they can be their authentic selves and feel confident in the classroom. So I really appreciate it. This is a great Tuesday, a great way to kick off the day. Make sure you join us. We have a couple more sessions coming up this week. We have sessions on core teaching practices, as well as another session on the Teach for Learning. This one will be the run session. So if you've joined us for all of those other sessions, this will be the run. This is the part that I wouldn't like, because I hate running. But you know what? I hope to see you all again here soon. And thanks so much for joining us. Talk to you all soon. Bye-bye, everybody.